So, we're building these incredibly powerful AIs, right? But how do we make sure they actually share our values? That they don't just go off the rails? Well, that is the core of the AI alignment problem, and that's exactly what we're going to break down right here.
Okay, to really get a grip on this, let's borrow a fantastic analogy from the Decision Lab. I want you to imagine you're trying to teach a toddler how to behave. Seriously, aligning an AI is a lot like that. It's messy, it's super complex, and there's a ton of trial and error.
Think about it. When you're dealing with a little kid, you don't just hand them a rule book, right? No. You want them to get it, to really understand why they should be kind, or why grabbing everything off the store shelf is a bad idea. And believe it or not, it's pretty much the same with AI. The real goal here isn't just to make it do a task. It's to make sure it operates in a way that actually lines up with what we humans value, with our ethics.
So this whole challenge, this parenting of our technological toddler, it actually has a formal name in the field.
It's called AI alignment, and the idea behind it is, on the surface, pretty simple. We've got to make sure that as these systems get smarter and smarter, their goals don't start drifting away from ours, because if they do, that could lead to some seriously unintended and maybe even harmful consequences.
But, okay, this whole effort to teach AI our values, it immediately brings up a much, much deeper question. A more philosophical one, really, and it's a question that's been nagging at the heart of AI research for decades.
So, is our little AI toddler actually learning to be good, or is it just becoming an unbelievably sophisticated mimic? I mean, does it truly understand a concept like fairness, or does it just know how to spit out the answers that we've tagged as fair?
And look, this is not some new panic that just popped up with the latest chatbots. Nope. This debate over whether an AI can truly understand goes way, way back. We're talking about pioneers like Alan Turing back in the 1950s. And the whole thing got even sharper thanks to the philosopher John Searle in the 1980s.
And this really gets to the heart of the two big sides of this debate. You have the Turing test, which is all about outward behavior. If a machine can chat with you and you can't tell it's a machine, boom, it passes. But then you have Searle's Chinese room argument, which cuts so much deeper. He basically said, hold on a second. A system could just be following a giant rule book, matching symbols to other symbols, and pass the Turing test without having a clue, zero understanding of what any of those words actually mean.
What Searle was doing was taking a direct shot at the main approach to AI back then. It was called GOFI, which stands for Good Old-Fashioned Artificial Intelligence. He was arguing that these systems, which use these, suggestive labels like red or block, were basically tricking us, tricking their own creators into thinking they understood these concepts when really they were just shuffling symbols around. Okay, so while the philosophers are debating what understanding even means, there's a much more practical, immediate problem we have to deal with. Where is our AI toddler getting its lessons from in the first place?
Well, it's learning from us, from the absolute mountains of data we feed it. And here's the kicker. That data is just a mirror. It reflects our world, warts and all. Google's machine learning glossary has a great term for this: historical bias. It's where all our real-world stereotypes and inequalities get baked right into the very data the AI learns from.
And this isn't a simple one-step problem. Oh no, it's multi-layered. Research from the journal Frontiers in Digital Health actually shows that bias just creeps in at every single stage. You've got bias in the data you start with. Then there's bias built right into the system's design and its algorithms. And then there's bias in how we decide to use these tools out in the real world.
And let's be clear, this is not just a technical glitch. It is an ethical minefield. We're talking about biases that directly threaten some of the core principles we really hold dear. When an AI is unfair, that's a direct challenge to our idea of justice. When it produces harmful results, that violates the basic principle of do no harm. And when an AI makes a bad call and nobody's sure who's responsible, well, that just completely erodes accountability.
So, okay, we've got this biased learning environment. We've got these really deep questions about whether the AI even understands what we're teaching it. So, what hope do we actually have of raising a properly aligned AI?
Well, the research points to a pretty sobering reality, to be honest. For the foreseeable future, it seems we simply cannot build a perfectly unbiased AI. It's just not possible. Some biases are buried so deep in the data, and let's be real, there are probably others we haven't even discovered yet.
This reality leaves us staring down 5 core ethical challenges. Researchers have even come up with a handy acronym for them: IBATA. That stands for injustice, bad outcomes, a loss of autonomy, the transformation of our concepts and values, and a loss of accountability.
A pretty heavy list.
So where does all of this leave us then? It really seems to boil down to two key takeaways for how we move forward.
First up, the goal here isn't perfection. That's just off the table. Instead, the real job is to be absolutely relentless in finding and cutting down bias wherever we possibly can. And this is the crucial part, we have to be radically transparent about the biases and the limitations that we know are still left in these systems. And that brings us to a final pretty provocative question. Because this isn't just a technical problem for a bunch of computer scientists to solve in a lab somewhere, it's a societal problem. It's for all of us. If we accept the fact that our AI is always, in some way, going to be a flawed reflection of us, its creators, then what's the real challenge? Well, maybe the real challenge is figuring out how we learn to live with and responsibly manage our relationship with this incredibly powerful, but ultimately imperfect technology.